Hi guys, hope everybody is very well. So today I'm going to talk all about something called cortisol. Well, what is cortisol and why is it of any interest at all to you guys? Well, cortisol is actually a steroid hormone, something inside all of us, and it's most often associated with stress. Now, when we think about stress, we most often think about some big fat business money, some tall glass skyscraper in LA or Paris or New York or wherever around the world who's under massive amounts of stress. But let's be honest, all of us at different points in our life have to experience long-term, so something called chronic stress. It may be that we're moving house, we're getting married. It may be you've got an exam coming up. It may be that you've got a driving test. There's lots of reasons that we bring chronic stress onto ourselves. And at the moment, we're going through unprecedented times. Of this COVID pandemic means that the whole global population is pretty much all under chronic stress now for close to a year. Now, what this actually means is in normal times, what we can do is we can kind of vent this stress. We all have booked a vacation and come back feeling great. We've all been out with our friends, had a few too many drinks. Maybe we've gone to a concert. Maybe we booked to go and see a comedy club. Maybe it's just hanging out, having a picnic or something along those sort of lines. But sadly, because of COVID at the moment, most of those things are out of the question and we can't do them. And this means that this stress is not having opportunity to be able to vent itself out of our bodies. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about what cortisol is, and more importantly, how it kind of works and how it might be affecting you right now. So, cortisol is no accident. It's something that's developed over, evolution. And so it's actually very good. What its actual purpose is to raise blood glucose levels. So if you've got low blood glucose, cortisol might be released and you'll raise those levels. Where it becomes a problem is it's also released when we're under long-term stress. Now, its function works great when the stress is a short term, so a few days, maybe even a few weeks it may work. But when we've got weeks, months, and even in this case, maybe years, it can become an issue. Now, if you imagine, for instance, being under some massive stress, so if you're in the sea and you're in a boat and you're stuck in the sea for 3 days, right? Which wouldn't be much fun anyway, right? But let's just go with this. Let's imagine we start seeing sharks circling our boat for all 3 days. That's going to be some serious stress. Now, what our body does, or what our brain does, in fact, is our brain gets the stressor, the sharks, and it releases a chemical which goes down through our body and ends up down here just above our kidneys. And what we do then is we actually secrete into our blood this substance, cortisol. Now, when it leaves this adrenal gland, or the adrenaline, I can't even say it, adrenal gland, just above our liver, what it does is it goes into the blood, and its main purpose is going to be changing the energy source that we've got inside our body so that our brain gets the majority of the energy, or the better energy, or in this case, the glucose energy. Now, the way it does that is it suppresses other parts of our body's access to energy, or changes the energy that it's using so our brain can function the best it can. Now, why would it do that? Well, the purpose being that when we're under a stressful situation, our brain is the most likely the thing that can think us out of that situation and put us in a better place. So in other words, we may better think of a way by using our brain of getting away from these sharks. Now, the downside of this is what it does to our body while it's trying to raise those levels. And so it goes to the muscles, and what it does is it can take the proteins from those muscles and turn those into kind of fatty acids, which is another fuel source for the body. So the rest of the body gets to use the fatty acids as power, for the want of a better word. So our brain keeps free for the good stuff. It can make all of we often hear about people having heart disease and things like that with stress. Well, what basically happens is if you imagine your veins going through your body, well, they've got a small amount of muscles around and they start to kind of contract because of this cortisol. And it means that all of your arteries are a little bit thinner. Now, that raises blood pressure, which I'm sure has got good things about it for a short period of stress, but over long term, obviously that can be a bad thing. But the one that I'm kind of interested in with you guys particularly is how it affects our immune system. So what happens with our immune system is that our immune system, when we're in those situations, is less important than our brain being able to think our way out of it. So what it does is it actually suppresses the immune system. So the immune system gets switched off to a certain extent so that we can get the energy going up here. Now, all of these things happen to us, and I've certainly seen them happen to me during this pandemic, where I've suddenly getting coughs and colds and I haven't even been out and seen anybody. My stomach's not quite feeling right. I've been to the doctors about my stomach, and I kind of never get ill. And obviously you feel the strain of stress, right? You feel down, you feel tired, you feel lethargic. Now, how can we manage this? How can we kind of help ourselves to get through some of these situations? Well, I'm no doctor, I'm no expert, and I'm sure that there'll be experts coming on here maybe giving better advice than I can, but I'm hoping I can give you some concepts and ideas that you can go away and maybe research yourself to help yourselves. So the first thing is exercise. Exercise can make a huge difference to all sorts of things, but one of the things it can do is bring down these levels of stress, bring down this cortisol. Changing of your diet. Now, I'm no dietitian, but there's going to be people on the internet, there's going to be people who will try and sell you 5,000 times of pills that will make you better, but that's probably not necessary. People talk about vitamin Bs and omega-3s from fish and that kind of stuff, but the main thing is basically eating less sugars. Now, when we're stressed, what do? Well, we want to feel better, so we might eat some chocolate, we might eat biscuits, and we're eating all this bad stuff, which is actually having a worse effect on this cortisol, because our blood glucose levels are already high, and now we're filling it with all this bad food. So that's not going to help. And the final two then are interesting ones. So meditation. So I've never really been into meditation. For me, a lot of people when they think of meditation will think like, I'm going to be sat in the bath with some candles and like, Now for some people, yeah, that's actually what they would do and it works great for them. For me, I've never really been big on meditation, but it was something that I learned from a Navy SEAL about something called box breathing. Maybe go and search about that. And that's something which I sometimes do before gigs. And I've certainly tried to do a little bit through this pandemic. But there's methods, there's things out there for everybody. Some people will want to go right the way down the kind of woo thing with smellies and candles, and some people will want to be a little bit more like the dirty soldier doing his box breathing. So the final thing then, which is really important for this, is having fun and socialising. Now, we can't socialise in the way that we are used to doing. However, we've got Skype, we've got Zoom, we've got FaceTime. All of these things are a way that we can still interact with people. Now, the other way we can interact, we can have clubs. Some people, I noticed when I was teaching all of my drum lessons, lots of people who had never drummed before started enjoying themselves and doing that because of the social aspect. But one of the things that's starting to happen now is that because we've been on this pandemic for so long, when it started off, we all started to see each other and have all this great social thing that was helping us feel better. And now we seem to slowly be forgetting about that. So what I would say to you is get back on those Zoom calls, get back in those clubs, join Facebook groups, get yourself back out there, having fun again the best you can under these conditions. Now, one of the things that I'd like to ask from you guys with this is anybody who's been through this pandemic and actually felt some of these things I'm talking about. Maybe you've been down, maybe you've been to the doctors about things that's never been wrong with you before. Maybe you've not been able to get up. Stick that stuff in the comments section. I really like to hear from you guys. I know that through my circles on things like Facebook, which are mainly musicians, loads of people have been saying how down they've been, or particularly how ill they've been. I'm interested to know whether this is just a thing with my group of people, or whether this is a wider thing across the kind of the earth. Now, a recording of this video, this week is Mental Health Week for my kids at school, so that was a reason why I thought I might record this video. For the last 10 years, I've been kind of obsessed with the way the brain works and psychology and stuff like that. That's the sort of stuff that I read a lot about when I'm not doing anything to do with the drumming, which most of you guys know me for. And so I think I might do a few more videos like this. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. If you're thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Get back and do your drum videos. That's absolutely fine. Get yourself over to YouTube. I've just released a couple of videos again this weekend, and so maybe I need to go back to doing that. But this is something I'm interested in, something I'd like to talk about more, and I'd like you guys to talk about more. So if you've got some out of this, please let me know. Maybe share it with some people, leave me some comments, and see if you can work on those cortisol levels. Now, as I said, I'm no doctor. Get yourself online, start to research this. I'm sure you can find all sorts of things that might help you get through these stressful times. Don't forget, COVID's short term. Well, it feels like long term, but it's not going to be here forever. We'll be out of this eventually and back to good times. So I'll see you again soon.